So first of all, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for making the time to join our webinar today. Just before we get started, just to let you know, we are recording today's session. Now, my name is Anna. I am Senior Learning Designer at Iris Connect, and I'll be hosting the webinar today with our lovely guest speaker, Ashleigh Thomson from Bloomfield Collegiate School in Belfast. If you give us a wave there, Ashleigh. Brilliant. So as you'll all know, the topic today is essentially the new TPL funding and how schools can really make the funding count. That's kind of what Ashleigh will be speaking about today. And one of the things she'll be covering as well is the Iris Connect platform and how her school is using it for professional learning and development. So we thought it might be a good idea, just for context, to give you a bit of information about Iris Connect, who we are, what we do, before I then hand over to Ashleigh to take over. So just a bit of background first about Iris Connect, as I know it's probably new to most of you, if not all of you. Iris Connect is a comprehensive professional learning and development platform for teachers that was born out of research. And there is a key piece of research in particular that I'm going to talk to you about today because it really sits at the heart of what we do. And it is so pertinent to the TPL guidance as well. So, as you, I'm sure, know, the guidance is quite clear that not all professional development is equally effective. And it really distinguishes between indirect professional development, so things like conferences and training courses and awareness sessions, and direct professional development that really explicitly seeks to improve pupil outcomes. So this particular piece of research that underpins the Iris Connect platform is something called the Joyce and Showers framework, which was actually a meta-analysis of over 200 individual educational studies. And the framework really looked at what makes professional learning truly effective. Now, starting with theory and discussion, we know that that's an essential part of professional learning. You can't have professional learning without it. But what the research discovered is that on its own, theory and discussion is not actually enough. The skill transfer is actually very low. So, how are teachers taking what they've learned about, read about, heard about, and taking it and putting it into practice in the classroom and seeing it have an impact? So the research looked at how adding different stages, if you like, to the professional learning experience would help to improve that skill transfer. So, being able to see teaching techniques and strategies modeled and demonstrated to you, that really did help to make a difference and helped improve that skill transfer. Also, being able to practice key strategies yourself and reflect on those, whether, sort of in a workshop or a professional learning community, or even just reflecting on your own practice within your own classroom and school, that also helped to improve the skill transfer a little bit. Adding in developmental feedback again bumped that skill transfer up. So, being able to receive feedback on your practice to help you work out how to become more effective and improve the outcomes for your learners. But as you can see from those numbers, we're still not where we want to be. We want to see as many teachers as possible really be able to take the things that they're learning about and develop their practice. So, what the research found made the biggest difference of all, and you can see by that massive jump in percentage there on the side, is having that culture of coaching and ongoing collaboration and peer-to-peer support all within the context of your own school. So being able to engage with professional learning throughout the year, not just one-off, conferences or one-off courses that you go to, but to be able to reflect on your practice consistently, to be able to receive and give feedback, and really be able to evaluate your progress and evaluate the impact it's having on your learners. So that is an older piece of research. It is from 2002, but we like to talk about it because it's why Iris Connect exists. It's why we started this journey almost 20 years ago. There is a lot more recent research, as you can imagine, that kind of tells the same story. So, for example, you have the 2021 report from the Education Endowment Foundation. This may look familiar, this page, if you've read the report. But they found also a number of what they call mechanisms, the little cogs that you can see here on the screen. So they're sort of pieces of a puzzle, if you like. These mechanisms all support effective professional learning and development. And the more of them you have, the more effective it's going to be to help you develop your teachers. And that really is where Iris Connect comes in. So it aims to bring all those key pieces of the puzzle together. We're very aware of the common challenges that schools face when it comes to professional learning. Being able to see results. How do we know that our teachers' professional development is actually impacting and improving outcomes for their learners? We know all about the time constraints. Teachers are so busy, schools are such busy places, and cost constraints as well. So, of course, if you're arranging cover so that a teacher can go out to a course or a conference, or arranging so that, moving timetables around so that teachers can go and sit in on each other's lessons, it can be really difficult and costly to do. One-off conferences and courses as well can be really quite a strain on a school budget. They are expensive. And of course, you want to be able to track progress. What is the impact our professional learning development is having on our teaching and on our school and on our learners? And finally, to be able to motivate teachers. It's so much more motivating to engage with professional learning that is meaningful for you as an individual, that's going to have an impact on your own practice, and that's going to have a positive impact on your whole school and all of your learners. Um, so just to kind of very briefly tie this up, Iris Connect is, as I said, a sort of a professional development platform. It's a collaborative platform. It's easy to use. It enables teachers to safely capture videos of their lesson, analyze the impact of teaching, and not only fine-tune their teaching strategies, but to also identify barriers to learning and re-engage with students so that they can ensure no one falls off their radar. It makes it easier to see other teachers in action without impacting busy schedules, enables them to share techniques and strategies. And why video? Well, there are lots of reasons video is a powerful tool. It's something that's been used in education and other professions for a really long time. Sports is a really obvious one, but performing arts, communication training, medicine, you name it. So it really helps schools to overcome those common challenges that I just mentioned. And we've built the platform in such a way that teachers are always in control of their own videos. So it's a safe environment for them, but it really makes professional learning more powerful and more impactful. So I'll stop there. I'll stop talking at you now about all of that. We can come back to Iris Connect a little bit later and show you how it all works. But hopefully that's kind of helped lay the groundwork for you now, Ashleigh. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Lovely, Anna. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm hoping you can see my screen.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Lovely. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you ever so much for joining today's session. As referenced, my name is Ashleigh Thomson, and I'm VP at Bloomfield Collegiate in Belfast. And I'm going to be talking very much about how we are implementing Iris Connect and our progress to date so far. So today is very much about sharing best practice as post-primary schools in Northern Ireland and how we can use the TPL fund strategically to drive real lasting change and impact on what really matters, which of course is the classroom. You'll notice the aims as shared in the flyer. I will talk through how we're using the funding, and then at the end, as referenced, Anna's going to give us a little demo just to show you the site and the platform, and we'll take any questions and answers if you have them. I should say, as a starting point and a caveat, I'm not saying by any means that Bloomfield has nailed this or that we have the perfect model, but we've certainly made gains, and we're keen to share that with others. So the TPL is obviously a very rare opportunity, offering sustained investment over the next 3 financial years, aimed at improving teacher effectiveness and pupil outcomes. And I think the key word is strategic, and it's something that Iris Connect really supports you with, in that your planning is really refined into milestones that are timely and seen through with clear goals. The TPL guidance is very clear. Professional learning is not an optional extra, nor something to be spent reactively on one-off events. It's a driver of school improvement, staff retention, and of course, pupil attainment. If we look at some some of the stats, there's a suggestion that 50% of classroom teachers, when they honestly feedback, say that they are not provided with enough high quality CPD. And I'm sure as colleagues here, we've been party to some of that CPD ourselves. So it's very much about ensuring its calibre and that it's sustained and that it's personalised for individuals depending where they are on their teaching journey. So, why one-off training doesn't work? Many of us have probably experienced the big ticket training days. I certainly have. The charismatic speakers, the inspiring messages, and then little sustained change. And the research strongly supports that this one-off CPD has very limited long-term impact. It might be a feel-good session. Colleagues might walk away feeling inspired, but how long does it last and does it really transmit to the classroom? So studies show that without the follow-up, the coaching, the modelling or the accountability, teacher practice rarely shifts in any meaningful way. So large-scale trials demonstrate that PD programs fail when they lack structure and follow-up or ongoing support. And thankfully, Iris Connect offers that. Collaborative long-term CPD, especially when it includes coaching, feedback and peer support, produces substantial and sustained improvements in teaching practice and in pupil outcomes. And that is proven, as Anna mentioned, by ongoing research, even right up to more recently with the EPI research across the United Kingdom. So this tells us something really important, that impact comes from rhythm, not events, from the process, not a performance. So how do we make TPL funding count in Northern Ireland? And as referenced, there's quite clearly evidence out there. We need our CPD to be relevant and reflective, explicitly linking it to pupil outcomes. We need it to be evidence-based, rooted in robust research, something which Iris Connect does and does well. And we need it to be collaborative amongst colleagues, not just within departments, but across the school, showcasing expert coaching and allowing expert challenge. And of course, something sustained over time is referenced. We don't want the one-off, we want ongoing, lasting at least 2 terms for meaningful practice, feedback and refinement. So we want to showcase Iris Connect and really as a model of direct professional development, that it's designed to improve pupil outcomes through classroom focus change. If you have a glance at this slide, you can quite clearly see, as highlighted in blue, the impact of CPD on pupil outcomes. The effect size is positive, and certainly compares very closely to those teachers who have 10 years experience rather than new graduates. So quality CPD can make a real impact. And it actually says that teacher CPD may be more effective than intervention like one-to-one teaching. We know one-to-one teaching is very costly, but the impact there being 0.28, whereas quality CPD, the effect size is positive and 0.009, so close to it. But obviously the key word is quality CPD. So I wanted to just touch on my experience in England. I'm returned to Northern Ireland 3 years ago, and I've spent many years in England, 25 in total, including within high-performing institutions such as the Bow Hunt Trust. It's a multi-academy trust, and it had 9 schools when I worked for it. It's now grown to 14, and they adopted Iris Connect as a means for strategic CPD, supported by strong quality assurance systems, and really to transform a culture. Priory School here has shown, not the local one in Hollywood, this one's in Portsmouth. At the time of joining the Bow Hunt Multi-Academy Trust, it was an underperforming school, struggling outcomes and struggling to retain great staff. So it was very much about culture and engendering a culture where colleagues felt valued and felt safe, but most importantly felt developed to teaching in what was a challenging school. So it was transforming the culture of professional development, not just sessions where you're talking at, but very much creating a culture together which suited those individuals, and then mapping those out and measuring that with quality assurance procedures, which were very transparent and not about catching colleagues out, but very much about recognising the great and the good work that was going on and sharing that across the school. So very much about collaboration and co-constructing systems. And of course, Iris Connect was part of that journey, part of a 3-year journey when I just as I left, where we were adopting the coaching model, where colleagues were working in triads and using that video footage to feedback and support best practice across the school. And of course, not forgetting that teaching is a difficult job and a hard job, and very much about using Iris Connect and that professional development to support the workload agenda, that it wasn't more of the same or more meetings or more accountability where people felt threatened, actually very much about positive accountability and recognising how we could support staff in their day-to-day work to ensure that the classroom was as calibre as it could be. So I'm highly conscious that obviously Northern Ireland has a very different context, particularly coming out of 8 years of action short of strike, where many teachers understandably have experienced less CPD, minimal coaching, very little formal observation and interrupted quality assurance processes. Certainly in the last couple of years of me joining here, I know that that progress sometimes was interrupted with action short of strike. Whereas Iris Connect is now enabling us to unlock that journey. So this is brought into sharp focus, really about ensuring all teachers are supported. I was recently in a study visit, and I was alongside a fellow middle leader who told me that he'd only been coached or observed during his induction years, which was 8 years ago. So it's fair to say that our colleagues are deserving of quality practice and quality CPD, and we hope that Iris Connect offers that. This isn't a criticism of schools in Northern Ireland, it's an acknowledgement of our circumstances, but if anything, it's a great opportunity. And the TPL funding allows us to restart, to rebuild and reimagine what professional learning can actually look like in Northern Ireland. So at Bloomfield, we began the journey 3 years ago, and for us, it started with culture. Myself and the principal agreed that it was very much about creating a culture where colleagues felt trusted and that there was a culture of psychological safety. And we focused first on our why, drawing on Simon Sinek's work, ensuring all staff were aligned and united behind our vision, that being excellence in a caring, child-centred community. And this really allowed us, like many schools in recent times, to revisit our ethos and our values. And we asked, what do we want our learners to be? What do we want them to experience? And at all times, our model has been transparent, it's been consultative, ensuring that feedback cycle is constant. And we talk about feedback being a gift. And I know that sounds really corny and cheesy. However, it is even the negative feedback that we want to take that to become even better in everything we do. And it's very much about growing great teachers in the classroom and growing great leaders. And through our CPD programme and our culture conferences, we've created distributed leadership so that it's not all sitting on the senior leadership team. It's across the whole school, whether that be you as a leader in your classroom or whether you hold a leadership responsibility in whatever guise that might be. We also created project teams leading research, trials and change. And those are made up of colleagues of varying experiences and varying years in the job, just to ensure that everyone felt part of this and felt valued and could support improvement in our school and make it even better. I should say that we've created something called red lines of teaching and learning and red lines of leadership. And this is very much a model adopted by Bow Hunt Trust. It's these are non-negotiables. They're co-created with colleagues. They're transparent, so everybody knows the expectations. And then, of course, they are measured, and we share the very best practice across those. So these are the red lines of teaching that we have had for the last couple of years. They're due to be extended. So our girls know what to expect in every lesson, that there will be a meet and greet, that we arrive promptly, that we have a do now activity or starter activity, normally linked to retrieval practice. And then it's very much about ensuring that we are focused on our TNL priorities, which are questioning and oracy. These have evolved over time. They're strongly influenced by Rosenshine's principle of instruction and Lemov's teach like a champion. And next year we extend our red lines. It's not to say these are done, but we're building on them, and we're extending them to ensure that teachers are using data well to support planning, whether that be challenge or to support others who may need it. So extending those red lines, but those are non-negotiables that we would expect to see in classrooms, and of course measuring them. Iris Connect is a great vehicle to see this in action, and in fact, it has an AI analysis feature which would allow you to upload your own video. In my case, it could be a 55-minute lesson, or it might be a 10-minute starter. And I can actually ask it to review my questioning, and it will give me feedback, whether they be high order, whether they be open-ended, cold calling, etc., etc. So it can really refine the feedback to you as a professional without even sharing that with another. So it's truly a game changer. So we've also created red lines of leadership. Again, this was co-created. This wasn't imposed on staff. So it was a session very early on in June 23, where we sat with colleagues and we asked them to reflect, what do we want to be as leaders? What do we expect of each other? And what should we expect of ourselves? So how do leaders act on a day-to-day basis or long term? How do we think, and how do we communicate? And it's a constant think piece for us. And we try and interleave that into our sessions, but this is who we are as a professional body in Bloomfield. And this is how we hold ourselves to account. It's created a shared ownership. It's meant shared expectations. And there's a real shared commitment to uphold these standards that we have agreed together. So post-industrial action, we've introduced quality assurance in a way that was explicitly non-threatening and supportive. So this has included paired learning walks, so whereby a head of department will go alongside a senior leader and walk through lessons. And we've extended that to other colleagues, not just the leadership framework being involved. So others who may value that, just to have that dialogue and that conversation about what we're seeing. We've also been really transparent on how we feed back and allowing time for that, but also what is recorded, and very much about ensuring colleagues have something to go away with, ideally one thing. We don't want to drown colleagues. Again, linked to our TNL priorities of questioning and oracy. So in our learning walks, our feedback is very much about I like, and that can be numerous things. I notice, so maybe something you've noticed in the classroom that would provoke thought. And then I wonder, which is almost an extension of their development or practice that you'd hope to see the next time you conduct a walkthrough. We've also had pupil interviews and surveys to date, just based on lines of inquiry. So very soft touch, very safe, and at all times done with colleagues, not done to. And we're now working towards some book looks or book scoops, as we say in Northern Ireland, where we're going to review our assessment and feedback and just really highlight the great that's out there and share that. So I've no doubt colleagues in the room have seen this great quote. Dylan Wiliam is a complete legend. I'm sure we'll all agree. but it's this doesn't go away, and it's I think this quote should live forever in our minds as leaders in a school. So it's very much about creating a culture that teachers don't feel judged. If anything, they know they want to improve and get better, and it's not because they're not good enough. It's actually because we're always continuously improving and seeking to achieve, and there is no limit to that. And Iris really allows that. And I guess, as we know, our most expensive commodity in school is our teaching staff. We know this in our budgets. So it's how we ensure quality value for money, and that actually they're working together, that they're collaborating together, and that their growth isn't limited merely to their own perspective or the AI perspective in Iris, that actually they're sharing across classrooms and across departments. So this is Iris. This is actually the kit a few years ago when we used it in Priory, and I have to say it's greatly advanced. It's now to Samsung Galaxy phones, which are solely used for Iris. So you can't text or phone anyone. It's simply for Iris. And then you have two speakers, one that you would put round your neck and one that you might put across the classroom. The benefit of two video devices is that you can capture two positions in the classroom. And when you watch it back, they are side by side. So you can see equal timing, how you were at the front of the classroom or wherever that might be, and then maybe what was going on at the back of the room. So it's the eyes that you don't necessarily have as a teacher or as a classroom practitioner. It is video enabled as referenced, and the research repeatedly highlights that it's an incredibly powerful tool for teacher development, especially as it allows for that coaching feedback. So if a colleague was to share a 10-minute clip with me, I could actually pause at the 6 minute 32-second part, and I could say, I noticed Billy was off task at this point. Yeah, have you considered movement around the classroom more in that area, or just something to prompt discussion? Obviously, the coaching element is great. The coaching and the mentoring, we're actually using it with our early careers teachers, specifically for the mentoring aspect and their self-reflection as well. So it can be very targeted, and it creates that evidence automatically. So it captures impact, reflection, and growth in your classroom that maybe you didn't see at that time. And of course, the dialogue afterwards, whether that be the written feedback alongside the video or the conversation, which I think has its place, that face-to-face conversation, is truly powerful. Capturing those real classroom moments, allowing practice to become much sharper and more impactful moving on. So this gives you an overview of the kinds of things it does. Obviously, it has the Discovery Kit. It does have screen captures where you can crop and share. I could also unshare at any time. So if I felt, I've shared that clip for a week, we've talked about it, I want to unshare it, then it's back onto your database. And of course, as a leader, it can give you analysis as well as to how many are accessing it, how many are shared, but also some of the AI analysis without being denoted to individuals or people. You can get an overview of your school where it might be in certain T&L priorities. So that's truly, truly powerful. This is how we shared it with our staff. I took a little soundbite from my previous school. So this was a colleague who referenced that it was game changing. They felt it was the greatest CPD tool they'd ever used. And they had been in the job 11 years. So I think that says itself. We've very much sold this to our staff. It's about them, and it's about their professional growth, and that it's building reflective practitioners, and actually we really value you and you're deserving of this. Yes, it's costly, and it's part of the TPL funding and so on. However, we feel that it's money well spent, and creating that ongoing professional learning for colleagues. So as referenced by Anna, it's very safe. It is GDPR compliant. In fact, we reached out to all of our parents to make them aware that this was being used in school and that it would not be shared beyond, and the rationale for purchasing it, that it was for teacher development. But there was nothing to worry about. And if anything, the feedback we got from parents was overwhelmingly positive, just saying, wow, this is incredible. Well done to Bloomfield. So that's really pleasing. It does save time. It does save money, as referenced in the long run. And of course, you're not taking teachers from where it matters most. They're in the classroom. They're not coming out to observe or to cover. They're actually still in their classroom. But it is smart utilisation of your meeting time and your coaching time with colleagues. So thinking about your directed time there. Iris have been great in that they have supported the planning, whether that be the induction and the introduction to staff, the sharing with governors, but also the long-term planning, the strategic goals. So where we want to be every term, where we want to be by the end of the first year, second year, and third year. So that strategic guidance has been invaluable, and we're really grateful for that. And of course, it's continuing this collaboration. It's not to say that some colleagues are a little bit scared. Some naturally are. I know that when I shared this more recently, I could read the room. I could see, who's maybe not as keen. But it's very much about finding how we get those colleagues on board and we face that fear, so that actually they don't feel threatened by it. And if anything, they can really see the gains. So just to finish off before I pass back to Anna, although I think my screen's gone green, I hope that's not the case. Um,
It's just your video,
oh,
Ashleigh.
that,
The
that's
screen,
okay.
yeah, what you're
I,
sharing
I
is
do.
still there, but for some
Oh,
reason you've
that's
gone green.
happy days. But anyway, so yeah, just to finish off, TPL funding gives us an unprecedented opportunity to really invest strategically in sustained professional learning. I think it's fair to say we all agree on that. And it allows us to move away from the one-off events. I mean, I've recently been in touch with a company about an August day, or was it a January day? And they're looking at close to £5,000 for, a nationally recognised speaker, and who I've no doubt will be incredible, but, the long-term gains are the concern. So it's moving away from those to much more research-informed practice. It's about rebuilding and strengthening Northern Ireland's professional learning culture. And it's ensuring that every pound is invested has a measurable impact, but most importantly, has a positive impact on our pupils. So that's me, Anna. Thank you.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Ashleigh. I will. Do you want to maybe try turn your camera off and on again? We could try that. I'll stop
Sounds
your
good.
sharing for now. But that was absolutely fantastic. Thank you for that. It really speaks volumes to everything that you have already managed to achieve at your school using the platform, and we're always so happy to hear that. It's testament to all your hard work, and I think some of the key takeaways, there you are, that's better. Some of the key takeaways for me there are just that shift in culture that you've seen, that open door policy that you have, teachers being willing to put themselves out there and share things with one another. It really helps to build those conversations, doesn't it, about teaching and learning and professional development in your school. So that's absolutely fantastic. Um, I'll only take up sort of 5 minutes or so more of your time to show you a little bit about how the platform works. So Ashleigh mentioned a couple of things there, but I'll try and show you a few bits on my screen as well, just to kind of hopefully take some of the mystery out of it. Um, if anyone already has some questions they're thinking about, please do keep a note of those, or feel free to pop them in the chat for now, and we'll come back to them in 5 minutes or so. Otherwise, hold on to them, and we can do a Q&A at the end. And if you put I'm sure you know how to put your hand up on the Zoom hand, I can turn on the microphone for you, and you'll be able to speak if you'd rather do it that way. So we'll do that in just a few minutes. I'm just going to share my screen again quickly with you. Here we go. Is that showing for you there, Ashleigh? Perfect. Brilliant. So I've just pulled up the Iris Connect platform on the screen. And I've already logged in and I am on the Reflections tab, which is my video library. Now, something that I mentioned and Ashleigh mentioned quite a few times is that every teacher controls this process. It's a safe platform to use. Teachers can feel confident in the knowledge that any videos that they record belong to them and they decide whether they're going to share them and for how long. Now, the way it works is each teacher would have their own password protected account. So any videos that they create using the Iris Connect app would be uploaded into their password protected account where only they can see it, and then they can decide what they're going to do with it. So this is my video library here. I've got lots of videos that I've created. I can see them and then I can come in and watch them. I can use some of those tools that Ashleigh mentioned. It's very easy to edit a video if you just wanted to share a short clip with someone. Um, and then the sharing aspect as well is again very much within the teacher's control. So just looking at my videos here, I can see very quickly at a glance, just looking at these green buttons here, which of my videos I've shared. So all of the ones with a zero obviously tell me that I haven't shared these videos with anyone. Where I've got a science one here that I've shared with 4 people. So it's very quick and easy for a teacher to be able to see whether they've shared a video with someone. And as Ashleigh was mentioning, you can also unshare at any time. So if I want to unshare my science video, I can just do that here. I'll unshare from a couple of people there so you can see the number's gone down to 2. So it's instant, very much within a teacher's control. If I was to go into one of my videos, I'll just go into this PE lesson one because it's a great example of a video that's been recorded using equipment like the one that Ashleigh showed you. So that actually combines 2 videos together. So if you're using 2 devices, you get 2 views of the classroom, which is absolutely fantastic. So you can see they're automatically linked on the platform when they upload. So I can get those 2 views of my classroom. The teacher wears a microphone, audio is great. And once I'm on the platform, you can see on the right-hand side here, I've got some comments. So this might be a video that I shared with a coach, with a mentor, with a colleague, just to get some feedback or some thoughts on my lesson. And the great thing about these comments is that they are all time-stamped. So every comment here on the right-hand side is linked to a specific moment in the video. And if I go ahead and click on this one here, for example, my video will jump straight to that moment that the feedback is referring to. So you can see what a time saver that is for someone who's getting feedback on their lesson. They want to go straight back to that moment and see what the feedback was about. And if they wanted to, they could also reply to that coach or that colleague and start to have sort of that ongoing professional conversation about the teaching and learning happening in this classroom. Ashleigh also mentioned the AI Insights, which are a fantastic new tool. This is probably one of the most exciting tools on the platform at the moment. We are getting a lot of interest because of it. AI is everywhere. It's growing constantly. Understandably, some people are still a bit reticent about it, and that's okay. I think what's really important to get across is that the way we've built our AI insights, as we call them on the platform, is really to ensure that, first of all, they're a reliable tool, that they are a non-judgmental tool, they are a supportive tool. They're not there to replace human beings in the conversation, but rather to provide an additional layer of support and context when looking at a lesson video, for example. So there are lots of different areas that you can analyze your teaching practice from the perspective of, for example, oracy or responsive teaching, feedback, checking for understanding, things like that. Rosenshine's principles, I think, are a very popular one as well. And you can also just do a very simple analysis, which looks for key moments in your lesson and lets you kind of do the thinking about where you want to go next with it. So it doesn't have to be sort of a specific focus area to start with. It could just be a simple key moments AI analysis. That's not all we leave you with. So we've also got a fantastic library of teaching techniques on the platform as well. So if you wanted to be able to provide your teachers with a library of professional learning materials and concrete tools that they can use to help them work on their practice and develop their practice, then you have a library of roughly 70 teaching techniques that you can use to help and to recommend for your teachers. So if, for example, you're looking at behavior management in your lesson, for example, behavior management is something that you're working on. You can see here, I've just pulled up a list of teaching techniques, all linked to behavior management to help me with that aspect of my teaching practice. So for example, maybe I'm looking at my entry routines and how I start my lessons. I'll just open up this technique guide. And I can see here, very nice, short and sweet, bite-sized bit of information. So we're not overloading teachers with too much information and content, just something really tangible that they can take away. So what is the entry routine technique? We've got a video model to support them with understanding what that might look like in practice in the classroom. And then if you happened to be in a coaching relationship and you're working with a coach, then you also have a rehearsal task that you may want to try with your coach before taking that technique into the classroom. So you can see lots of supportive content and information on the platform readily available. And the last thing that I wanted to mention is our pathways. So you may be thinking, this sounds great, but how do I give this to my teachers and expect them to know what to do? Of course, that is always going to be a work in progress. I think Ashleigh said it very, very well. It's all about how you plan it and how you roll it out. If Iris Connect was something that you ever wanted to use, then like Ashleigh said, we would work with you to support you with that process to help you planning and rolling out a system like this. Um, but you also have a lot of supportive tools like the ones I showed you. The pathways are probably a really great way of supporting your teachers to engage regularly with the platform on their own as well. So if I jump into the pathways here, essentially what they are frameworks that you can provide your teachers with to support them with a process, whether you just want them to go away and self-reflect on their own practice, whether you happen to be coaching a teacher, there's a pathway there to support you. Or perhaps you're working in groups, maybe departments, and you're all looking at an aspect of pedagogy together, then you could have a collaboration pathway instead to support you. And I'll show you what one looks like so that you can kind of picture it. It's a lot easier when you're looking at one than me just sort of telling you how they work. So here's one that I set up earlier. It's an AI guided self-reflection pathway. So this one actually also happens to have an AI element embedded within it to help support the teacher's self-reflection. So I started this earlier. I put my oh, sorry, that was very loud. I put my PE video into this pathway. And what it's done is it has analyzed my video. The AI element of the pathway has analyzed my video, and it's given me some information, a starting point. You can see here on the left-hand side of my pathway, which by the way is private to me because it is a self-reflection pathway. I haven't added any of my colleagues or line managers to it. The steps on the left here will support me with that process because self-reflection, I think everybody can sort of pretty much picture what self-reflection is, but how do we actually then go and do it effectively? How does a teacher know what to look for in their lesson? Where do they start? A 50-minute lesson is a lot of content to go through. So a scaffold like this, a pathway like this can really help with that process. So first we've got an overview, and the AI has helped me with this as well. So I don't need to go through my 54-minute lesson, but rather I've got the AI here, which has given me a fantastic overview of my lesson from a number of different perspectives. So it's looked through my lesson using a transcript, and it's pinpointed all the moments in my lesson where perhaps there was a behavior incident or a behavior element in my teaching. Instruction for initial understanding. So where in my lesson did I provide some instruction? And I can see these points on this graph here and simply hover over them to see what was the instruction I was giving here. For example, at minute 25 was a resource station memory load. So some time-limited resource checks, risk split attention, and transient information during initial learning. That was a bit of a funny one to pick up, but let's try this one. So at the very beginning, instruction for initial understanding, I'm activating prior knowledge and objectives. So I'm linking, this is a PE lesson looking at the skeleton and muscles. So the teacher links new skeletal content to prior muscles and shares clear learning objectives with their students. So I can hover over any of these moments and pick one that I might want to focus on. Feedback, consolidating learning, responsive teaching, and oracy as well. So it's given me my breakdown. I can click on any of these and jump to that moment in my video. You can see that it's just jumped ahead. So it really helps the teacher first to explore that lesson and decide where they maybe want to put their focus. Now I'm going to choose exactly what I want to focus on going forward. So not only has the AI broken down my lesson for me, it has also given me some feedback on each of the different areas. I'll just look at one because otherwise I'll be talking at you all evening about this. There's so much great content in this pathway. But let's have a look at behavior, for instance. So the AI has pulled out some very clear moments in my lesson and described them for me here with some timestamps. So again, I can go back to those moments if I like. And it's given me a fantastic overview of my lesson. So I created a constructive climate through calm relational language, etc. And it's also given me a reflective question, so something to think about. I wonder if you might want to explore further how securing 100% attention with a clear signal, then pausing until silence, might sharpen focus. So it's given me something to think about, and it's also recommended a technique guide from the library that I showed you earlier. There's a fantastic teaching technique, get and hold attention, that might help me with this part of my practice. So I can go ahead and review as many of these as I want, or I can go with the AI's recommendation. The AI thinks that I would probably be best off looking at instruction for initial understanding. So I'm going to go ahead and select that one. I'm going to trust the AI. I've reviewed the feedback. And now that I've selected that moment, I can go ahead and review my focus. So a bit of information around instruction for initial understanding, and then I can hone in specifically on one technique. So this is really helping your teachers hone in on something that's going to be really meaningful for them. What's one high leverage thing that I can take away right now and do? What can I take away and put into practice that's going to benefit my learners? So we're not asking them to do too many things. We're not just giving them information and hoping that they can figure out how to go and put that into practice, but we're trying to give them support throughout that whole process. So once the teacher has selected a technique they're going to take away, I'm going to go with the AI's recommendation of worked examples, which will just be in this list provided here. That will pop the technique guide in there for me so I can read it. And then I'm going to put a little bit of thought into what I'm going to do, how I'm going to plan this into my next lesson. So it takes me through that whole cycle of self-reflection. And at the end of that, I'm really going to be able to go back and see what was how did I progress? What impact did this have in my teaching? So that's an example of a pathway. I know I've given you a very whistle-stop tour of the platform, but hopefully that was useful and interesting. So I'll stop there just for a minute. We still got 10 minutes, well, just over 10 minutes to go. So it would be great if anyone has any questions. Now would be a good time to ask. I've got my eye on the chat if anyone would rather use the chat for questions. But also feel free to click the little raise hand button there on Zoom, and I'll be happy to take questions now. They can be questions for Ashleigh, they can be questions for me. It's anything that's useful. Who's going to get the ball rolling? Oh, we've got a question in the chat. How many camera sets would a school of 1,100 pupils usually have? I don't know, how many pupils have you got roughly, Ashleigh, in your
So
school?
we are 770 and we only purchase two um, devices. So two sets, if you like. They come with tripods that you can perch up and so on. So not all very straightforward. And then we put it into our booking system, like
Yeah,
the room booking system. So colleagues book it out and technician delivers and so on.
yeah. A booking
So
system is always a great idea, but it does mean then that you don't need that many recording devices. So
yeah.
that's a good way of doing it for sure.
And we gave an incentive for colleagues to book out. The first five got a prize.
Oh wow. Well,
Had to
that
be done.
prizes are always good. Prizes are always
Absolutely.
good. I will just say to add to that though, I think every school goes about it however they, prefer. I think some schools do very well with a limited number of kits and a really great booking system. Some schools like to take, to make it even easier for teachers to get to that equipment and just get, more than that and have them spread around the school. It does depend on size. It depends how you're planning on using it. Um, so it's one to sort of see as you go, I suppose. Um, Someone says, how much is it? Is it a license? How long does the license last for? I can't tell you how much it is because I don't know anything about your school, but what I can do is I can give you our page all about the TPL, and there's also a button there where you can get in touch with us. If we know a little bit more about your school and your context, then we'll be able to provide the pricing because it is dependent on school size. Um, and generally speaking, you can either have a 1 or 3 year contract. But we're quite flexible around things like that as well. Um, let's see. Thank you for a very informative session. Yes, you're welcome, Colette. So, will the recording be made available? I believe so. I'll double check with my team, but I'm fairly certain that we're going to make it available to attendees. This one might be for you here, Ashleigh. How many hours are allocated annually as time to review videos, etc.?
Yeah, great question. I mean, we're very much in the early stages, but we've gone for 3 hours this term, and I imagine that will be extend next year as we're trying to adopt it with a coaching model. So at the minute, it's have a go, try it, do AI analysis, and share with another. That's for everybody. So those two things before the 12th of June. But next year with the coaching model, I imagine that will increase. It'll have to make it effective.
Thank you, Ashleigh. Yeah, my colleague has just popped on the chat there that the recording will be sent to all attendees tomorrow. That's perfect. Thank you, Rico, lurking in the background. Um, did you also have coaching training beforehand? That's for you as well, Ashleigh, I'd say.
Yeah, so yes, we work closely with an external provider on coaching. His name is Chris Moyes, Moyes. He's an expert and he provided a lot of his resourcing. In fact, even just to access his website was incredible, all the resourcing in there where he uses the GROW model. But that was an essential. So that was delivered to all leaders, senior and middle, and then with a view to extend to all colleagues, which I think is about 5 or 6 in early August.
It's fantastic if you're starting a new coaching program, I think, isn't it, to work with an expert like that? That's really great. Question there, are the camera kits included in the license cost? So, yes and no. So you can choose what camera equipment you purchase from us, if at all. So the main thing to note is that the Iris Connect app, which is free to download on any device, can be used on any smart devices you already have in school. So if you have iPads or things like that in the school, you can always download the app, sorry, onto those devices. I would always recommend purchasing at least one camera kit from us purely because audio is so important when it comes to lesson recordings. And the kits that we can provide will come with a microphone as well, which is key to having that great audio. But many of our schools successfully use the system on their own devices as well. So it's very context dependent. I have just popped in the chat, by the way, a link to our website where you can read more about the TPL and also get in touch with us if you'd be interested in finding out more, getting some pricing for your school. I'll just pop it in there again, just in case anyone missed it. Um, any other questions?
You touched on a really good point, Anna, that
Mm,
colleagues can download the Iris app on their phone. So,
hmm.
obviously you can watch it on your desktop or your Surface, but then to access it on your phone as well is really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And because you're using the Iris Connect app, that's just one key thing to mention. You're not actually recording on your device's camera, you're recording through the app. So the video actually remains encrypted within the app. It's stored temporarily on your device, but encrypted. And if you maybe don't have an internet connection, that's fine. You can carry on with your recording. But once you have a stable internet connection, you can have that video upload straight into your password protected account. So it's very secure as long as you're using the Iris Connect app. Brilliant. I did you say that Iris Connect will support schools with strategy around how this might be used in their context? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I had quite intensive meetings early on with not just the admin team on the setup, which again they take over and do for you, but they're really being aware and conscious of your need and how many colleagues are you talking and where are they and current T&L priorities. And trying to find the best possible strategy for you because what was really obvious between my two settings are very different and you can't just lift one model and transfer it to here. So it was very much about supporting you. And of course, those colleagues work with all schools, so they find the best possible way and plan it out with you. So literally your long-term strategic plan, 1 page, 2 page, was done for you, which was great. And then it's a matter of regular check-ins. So every 3 months, I'll have a regular check-in with, well, where are you? Have you hit the milestones? If not, why not? So really good support.
Yeah, we can really tailor this to your school. It's up to you how much support you want. Some schools maybe a bit more, hands off. Others would like that support, and we're always here to give it. We've been doing this for nearly 20 years now. When we first started in England, it was a very sort of early days of video in the classroom. We really pioneered that over here. So we have a lot of experience with all different contexts and scenarios. So we're always happy to help. There's a question there for you, Ashleigh. Did you have any staff trying to opt out of this model of TPL?
I have one that quite clearly told me she wouldn't be touching it and she wouldn't be doing it, partly because she's retiring at the end of the year. But I said that's even more reason why we need recordings, because of her,
You need to
she's
share that
absolutely, that's
expertise.
lost forever. So I'm still working on that one. And then I have another who is quite anti, but again very established, and it's just new. So I've met her head of department actually this morning, and she's already setting up a recording for Wednesday morning, and her intention is to share it with her before Wednesday to make her feel at ease, and that hopefully by return after Easter she'll feel more content and moving forward. But it's fair to say that unions have no issue with this either, because it is so personal and owned by the colleague. And of course, it's never used for any form of performance management. So it's very safe.
Thank you, Ashley. That's absolutely true. So, we're quite used to teachers who may be reluctant, understandably, to use video. Sometimes it's as simple as I don't like to see myself on camera. Sometimes it might be more than that, but whatever the reasons are, we've definitely heard them all. You may not get 100% of your teachers using it, but you will definitely get close to that. And I think the important thing is that even those teachers who aren't willing to record, at least not yet, will still benefit so much from the platform because so many of your teachers would be using it, sharing that expertise, sharing those videos, sharing feedback, and opening up those conversations. So everybody gets to kind of benefit from it, even if they aren't yet recording. Brilliant. Some really good questions there. Thank you, everyone. We do still have a few minutes left, so happy to take some last minute questions if anyone has anything else to ask. I will pop that link one more time in the chat because I know it gets bumped up when we get messages, so I don't want anyone to miss it. Thank you, Anne Marie. That I'm glad you enjoyed it. That's brilliant. Great. Thank you, everyone. It's been a great webinar. Thank you, Ashleigh. That's been fantastic.
No problem. I mean, I'm happy if anyone's local and they want to pop in, they're very welcome. If they want to see it in action or talk to colleagues, not a
Yes,
problem.
definitely do that. Take Ashleigh up on her offer. I think that's the best way to see it. You're going to have a landslide now if people wanted to come and see your school, Ashleigh.
I'm sure the boss will be delighted, no problem.
Brilliant. All right. Well, you've got the page now. You can always reach out to us as well via our website. Hopefully we'll hear from a few of you. And yeah, stay in touch. Oh, hi, Joe. That's my colleague Joe in the chat there as
Uh,
well. She's saying hi, Ashleigh.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Thank you,
evening.
everyone. Have a fantastic evening.